Welcome to the Liz Wheeler Show. I'm Liz Wheeler. Did you guys get a weird notification from YouTube from my page recently? I just realized that this happened in this. If you go to my YouTube page, which is just youtube.com/Liz Wheeler, I know a lot of you guys probably watch over there. A lot of you are subscribed. But if you go over there, we have playlists of all of our videos. So there's like a playlist with just the episodes. There's a playlist with clips, which are, 2, 3, 4, 5-minute clips we pull from the show. There's a playlist of interviews that I do. And I was letting my daughter, who's almost 2, watch a video on my phone on YouTube. We had visited my parents in Cincinnati, and we took her to the zoo, the Cincinnati Zoo. And at the Cincinnati Zoo, they have a hippo exhibit, and the mama hippo just had a baby. The hippo's name is Fritz. And ever since I took my daughter, this was like in, I want to say September, I think it was September that I took my daughter to see the baby hippo. And ever since then, she's been so obsessed with baby hippos. She wants to watch videos of this hippo on YouTube. And I let her watch this hippo. It's just the baby frolicking with the mom, right? It's harmless zoo content. And I didn't realize, look at this on the screen. She added it to the playlist because I was watching, I guess, for my official. I hadn't changed the account away from the Liz Wheeler Show just to my official viewing, or my personal viewing account. And she added the hippo video to the playlist for my show. And I saw that, and I sent this emergency panicked text to our marketing manager. I was like, oh my God, Lady Baby just added this to the playlist. How do I remove this? Does this send a notification to the 300,000 people who subscribe to my YouTube? So I don't know if it did or not, but I thought it was pretty funny. And if you did get a notification about a hippo, you weren't out of your mind. It did happen, and it was just a little message from my baby to you. So mom life and work life intersecting right there. And this is also a perfect opportunity for me to say, if you haven't subscribed to my channel on YouTube, go ahead and do that, because, you may tune in for a show, you may tune in for an interview, or maybe you're just tuning in for some good, hippo fun, some good harmless hippo fun. Okay, what are we going to talk about on the show today? We have a lot to talk about. First of all, Joe Biden traded Brittney Griner, who is the WNBA star who was arrested by Russia. She's been in Russian prison for 9 or 10 months because in her suitcase, she had marijuana, or I think it was like a vape pen with cannabis oil in it, and that's illegal in Russia. Brittney Griner smuggled it in. She was arrested for drug smuggling. They sentenced her to a long time in prison. Biden just traded her. She's now free. She's here back in the United States. He traded her, which I don't have a problem with, right? It's part of the job of the president to secure the release of American citizens when they're held in foreign custody, especially by nations that are unfriendly or hostile to the United States. The problem here is who Biden traded Brittney Griner for. He traded her for a notorious arms dealer, a Russian arms dealer. And not only that, he allowed a Russian terrorist to go free while not including in this trade a former U.S. Marine who was also being held in custody in Russia. And the outrage here is valid. It is justified. And there's 2 reasons why Biden did this. Part of it, Karine Jean-Pierre admits in a press conference. We're going to watch that video today and talk about just how egregious her answer actually is. Most of the media is ignoring her words, but we can't ignore that. And then we're going to talk about the unspoken reason, the ulterior motive that Biden had for releasing or for trading Brittney Griner for a terrorist while leaving a U.S. Marine rotting in a Russian prison. That's one thing we're going to talk about. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is it was brought to my attention. This week, we've been talking a lot about the difference between fraud, voter fraud, and fraudulent behavior in elections. And it was brought to my attention an article that was published actually February 4th of 2021 in Time magazine. It is the craziest article ever. I cannot believe that this article has not been read by every person in this country, let alone by every conservative and Republican, especially the Republicans in the apparatus, the voting apparatus, the elected officials, the RNC. This is the answer to all of our questions. Exactly what the Democrats did to electioneer, it is laid out. And this is written from the perspective of a leftist who is bragging about this. It's quite something. I want to read this with you because once we read this together, I think you will share my opinion that it's bananas that this article has not circulated for. So let's get to it. All right, guys, if you want your skin to look years younger, Genucel skincare is the way to go. Awesome products. That is a testimonial from April, who lives in Rockport, Illinois. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is that easy to look years younger with Genucel skincare. I invite you to celebrate the holidays a little early this year with Genucel's most popular package. I got a great deal for you. This is better than like Black Friday stuff. 70% off at Genucel.com/Liz. Treat yourself to the only skincare products you'll ever need, finally. Genucel is so confident that you'll love your look. Every Genucel order has a 120-day money-back guarantee. For a limited time, every most popular package also includes Genucel's hyaluronic acid correcting serum, and that is included for free. Genucel has been delighting happy customers for years by treating tens of millions of everyday skin problems like wrinkles, dark spots, dry skin, sagging jawline, facial redness, even those annoying bags and puffiness for men and women just like you. And with my personal favorite product, Immediate Effects, Genucel guarantees results in as little as 12 hours, or you can get your money back if you order at my URL, Genucel.com/Liz. Your most popular package also includes a complimentary gift set plus free express shipping. It's GENUCEL.com/Liz, Genucel.com/Liz. Okay, before we get into the craziest article ever, and I'm not trying to build that up. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or clickbait. This genuinely blew my mind, this article. Before we get to that, let's talk quickly about Joe Biden trading WNBA star Brittney Griner. Brittney Griner is probably one of the most prominent female professional basketball players in the United States. She traveled to Russia. She took a vape pen in her suitcase that contained cannabis oil. Marijuana is illegal in Russia. Russia arrested her for it, tried her, and convicted it. She appealed, she lost the appeal, and they sentenced her to an extremely long prison sentence. And there's been a lot of outrage in our country about this. And I know we've talked about this briefly before. Here's my opinion on this. I understand why the United States does not want any American citizens to be held in Russian custody, because Russia is hostile to the United States. Russia is not in alignment with our values. Their labor camps and prisons are borderline human rights abuses. And so regardless of the facts of the matter or the crime that was committed, I understand why the United States would try to remove American citizens from Russian custody. That being said, on a personal level, I struggle a little bit to feel sympathy for Brittney Griner because, and I don't mean to sound cold-hearted here, right? I don't want anyone who commits a petty crime to have their entire life ruined. That's not what I mean. But what I do mean is that when you as an American citizen are traveling to Russia, you understand that Russia is a hostile nation. And when you as an American citizen travel to any other country, it's your responsibility to respect their laws. But the argument that we've seen from the left is because the left doesn't like laws criminalizing marijuana, they think it is a human rights abuse that Brittney Griner was convicted in a Russian court. And that's where I agree with the vast majority of commentary about Brittney Griner. I don't disagree with her conviction. They have a law, a zero tolerance policy in Russia for drugs. Brittney Griner deliberately broke that. She is guilty of violating their law. Now, if you don't like their law, that's fine, but it doesn't make it a human rights abuse just because you disagree with their law. In fact, we have plenty of American citizens. If I had a family member right now who was incarcerated in the United States for some kind of marijuana possession, marijuana use, marijuana trafficking, I'd actually be really annoyed. I'd be really angry at the Biden administration because while American citizens are in American prisons for marijuana-related offenses, an American citizen who deliberately violated a Russian law about marijuana was traded by the President of the United States and set free in the United States. That doesn't seem fair to me. That seems to be a misplaced priority. That's kind of the first red flag here about this trade before we even get into who was traded for Brittney Griner. But the Biden administration seems to have an ulterior motive, which I'll get into in just a second because I believe they do have an ulterior motive. But the second aspect of this is Brittney Griner was traded for a man named Victor Bout. Victor Bout was sentenced in the United States to 25 years in prison for conspiring to kill Americans. He's a notorious arms dealer. His nickname is the Merchant of Death. He was convicted for providing material support to a terrorist organization because he was attempting to acquire and export anti-aircraft missiles. He wanted to use these weapons. He wanted to literally give these weapons to terror organizations so that they could kill Americans. He was serving 25 years in prison here in the United States. Basically, he was one of the deadliest individuals in Russia after Vladimir Putin. This is like almost Osama bin Laden level terror. I know that Osama bin Laden committed the 9/11 terror attacks, so it's hard to equate him to anyone else if there wasn't this publicized mass death on American soil. But I'm talking the motives of this guy are for the mass destruction of Americans, for the crime of being Americans, the same way that Osama bin Laden's jihad ideology was for the mass death of Americans because we were Americans, because we are Americans. This guy is obviously incredibly close to Vladimir Putin. And this is the thing. This is what Vladimir Putin does, is he sometimes unfairly holds American citizens, maybe sentences them heavily for less serious crimes so that he can use them as bargaining chips to free much more powerful, much more dangerous criminals that the United States has in custody. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened here, because we have former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, who is also being held in prison by the Russians, and he was just left out of this deal. Like, are you telling me that a cannabis offense is the same as conspiring to kill Americans by providing material support and weapons to a terror organization? That's a one-for-one trade for you? I don't think so. I don't think so. And just to contrast the Biden administration's extremely poor negotiation here that has left an American citizen still incarcerated in Russia, contrast this with what President Trump did with Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea. Kim Jong-un released 3 prisoners to Trump without Trump making any concessions. It was just Trump convinced Kim Jong-un to release these prisoners as a goodwill gesture to the United States. That's what we had under Trump. This is what we had. This is what we have in the Biden administration. So why did the Biden administration do this? They have to know that it's going to make them look weak. They know that an American citizen, this former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, who is being charged or who was convicted by the Russians of espionage, even though he denies it, they have to know that this is not going to play well with the American public. So why did they do that? Well, Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary for the Biden administration, gave at least one version of the answer to that.
Treat Paul Whelan differently given the nature of the totally illegitimate charges they have levied against Paul. Unfortunately, the choice became to either bring Brittney home or no one. As the president said this morning, he will never stop working to secure Paul's release and return home, and he will not give up. On a personal note, Brittney is more than an athlete, more than an Olympian. She is an important role model and inspiration to millions of Americans, particularly the LGBTQI plus Americans and women of color. She should never have been detained by Russia. And I am deeply proud of the work that the president has done.
And there you have it. The 3 reasons. She should never have been detained by Russia. So they're arguing that the law that criminalizes the use of cannabis in Russia is illegitimate because that's the Biden administration's and the left's domestic agenda here. They want to illegitimize that type of law in another country so that it looks illegitimate here. That's the first thing. But the real reason here is they say Brittney Griner is so important because she's a role model and inspiration for so many people because she's LGBTQIA and she's a woman of color. Oh, okay. So you're using her as a puppet. So you use these supposedly immutable characteristics, this LGBTQIA status or identity, and the color of her skin to choose that she was more important than a former U.S. Marine. This is deeply illustrative of what the Biden administration and the left, how they view the idea of justice and the application of justice. This is just an example of what they want in our country, where certain people with certain immutable characteristics, whether it's because you're a woman, whether it's because you are Black, whether it is because you identify as gay, they want those things to create a situation where the standard for penalties in the criminal justice system are different for you than for straight white men. That's deeply disturbing. That is deeply dangerous. And they openly admit this. That's bad enough in and of itself. But what's worse is that this is clearly the ulterior motive of the Biden administration. This is what I mentioned before. The ulterior motive is very clearly pandering to Black voters in our nation. Even though we just passed the 2022 midterm elections, make no mistake, the Democrats are already focusing on 2024. They're pandering to Black voters, and they're using this narrative of over-incarceration. We've heard this for many years now, that the percentage of Black people who are in jail compared to the percentage of how many Black people are citizens in our country is disproportionate. That's the word they use, disproportionate. And they claim that this is because of systemic racism. They don't look at the fact that, well, Black people commit more crimes than white people, so, you know, a higher percentage of Black people are put in jail than white people. And they don't look at the question, well, why is that? Why is it that more Black people commit crimes than white people? They're not interested in untangling this and figuring out the truth. They just want to make it seem like the criminal justice system, whether it's the police, whether it's judges and juries, whatever it might be, that they're wrongly convicting people and therefore wrongly incarcerating people just because they're Black, because there's some sort of racial animus. There's no evidence of this. None. In fact, all the evidence shows opposite. But again, the Democrats want to distract from the real question is, why is it that more Black people commit crimes or at a higher percentage than white people do? Because it's a higher percentage, not a higher overall number. In our country, there are a higher overall number of white people actually commit crimes because the percentage of our population, a higher percentage of our population is white than Black. So what is the reason? What is the ulterior motive of the Biden administration? Well, because this type of move is what happens this is what type of move happens if you are making an effort to prepare or condition a population for a mass release of drug offenders. First, you illegitimize drug laws in another country. You prop up someone who you feel fits your victim narrative, someone who is a woman, who is Black, who is LGBTQIA+. You secure her release as if this is some kind of heroic move, that she was targeted because of those characteristics versus because of her criminal activity, and then you use this to precede an effort for mass release of drug offenders. Now, why would the left want mass release of drug offenders? Because the left desperately wants felons to be able to vote. They desperately want the population of prisons to vote Democrat. And this is part of their effort. All right. You ready for this article? We're going to talk about that in just a second, but first I want to talk to you about ExpressVPN. I like ExpressVPN because it keeps my family and my information safe online. When you go online, if you don't use a VPN, internet service providers can see every website that you visit, and then they can legally sell this information without your consent to ad companies and tech giants who then use your data to target you. If you go online without ExpressVPN, well, my analogy here, of course, is using the internet without ExpressVPN is like using the bathroom with the door open. Nah, you want to keep your business private. When you do use ExpressVPN, internet service providers cannot see your online activity. That bathroom door has been closed. Your identity is anonymized by a secure VPN server. Your data is also encrypted for maximum protection. And it's really easy to use. You just fire up the app and click one button. It works on all your devices. I like ExpressVPN because it keeps my family and our personal information safe when we are online. So I invite you to secure your online activity today by visiting expressvpn.com/Liz. That's EXPRESSVPN.com/Liz. And you can get an extra 3 months for free if you go to expressvpn.com/Liz. Hey guys, I regret to inform you that this section is censored thanks to the YouTube overlords and our effort not to get permanently booted from YouTube after getting a strike and getting demonetized. You can head over to Rumble or Locals though. This content is available for free on both Rumble and Locals. You can catch the full uncensored episode there. I'll see you over there.
haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below, and ring the bell to make sure you never miss a video.